Hey there, welcome to another week out here in the garden. It's cold again. So yesterday was actually such a gorgeous day, but now we're back to the freezing cold. We do have some beautiful blooms showing up in the garden right now, which is just so awesome. I started off this week with that gorgeous Princess Margarita rose. I mean, so stunning. It was even more beautiful yesterday when I got that that footage of it in the sunlight. It's so pretty, and it smells nice too. It's got like a good floral scent. So let me smell it. It's just like slightly a day older now, and the color is changing a little bit. So I'll show you. It's been blooming now fully for a couple days, but it still has just like, yeah, just such a great rose, like light, bright rose scent. It's really beautiful. So let me show you how it's kind of fading out into this like softest kind of creamy, sort of creamy yellow. It's really pretty, and I've got more blooms coming. I went ahead and sprayed this with just turned up my my hose to like the highest kind of spray setting on the shower setting, just as much water flow as possible, and then sprayed off all the aphids, and it actually did a really good job. This is a nice, strong, sturdy plant, so it handled being sprayed off like that, no problem. The plant's fine, and I think there's like maybe one little aphid in there, but otherwise the plant's looking really good, which is awesome. But just, I mean, how beautiful is that rose? So gorgeous. And then endless flowering peach melba nasturtiums, which they're starting to kind of fade. I think I'm going to go to the garden center this week, and I'll probably get some things to maybe switch out around the base of the rose, but it's beautiful. And I actually have some little echinacea plants starting in here. My daughter got some echinacea seeds from a friend, and we planted them, and there's a bunch coming up. I wasn't really sure how they would do. You know, given a perennial seed like that, sometimes those seeds take forever to germinate, but it's only been like maybe a couple weeks and it's already germinating, which is pretty exciting. So I'm going to be curious to see if they bloom for the first year. And that'll be really in the past, when I have started perennials from seed, I've actually always started them in the summer, probably around like July of the year before, overwintered them and have them be like second year perennials in my garden, just because it kind of gives you that head start and you get more blooms. But yeah, I'm kind of trying to hide from the wind, so it's hopefully not too loud. I've been trying to work on the sound. I'm still getting all my filming, setup figured out. But yeah, we'll be really curious to see if that echinacea actually blooms. Just sort of a typical classic like purple echinacea. One thing I did do in the garden today was brought out one of these little basil plants. So you, I'm sure, see these. This one is from Trader Joe's, but you see these in the grocery store all the time. And I wanted to make a basil dish this week, but then I also figured that once I harvest, the top portion of this plant, that I would go ahead and plant the rest of it into a container and keep growing it throughout the season. I really want to have a lot of basil in the garden this year. I think that's kind of one of my goals, is to have a lot of those like really nice herbs that I can just use in different recipes. So what I'm doing, my strategy with a plant, because obviously it's been indoors, it's just, been in the grocery store. So it's not been exposed to light or wind, and we've actually been having a decent amount of wind lately. I don't know if it's just the spring weather or what, but I'm gonna put it in shade. It's just gonna be in full shade over here for probably maybe 3 days or so, 3 or 4 days. And then I left half of the plastic like wrapping on. So obviously it has that full plastic sleeve, but I figured I would just leave a good like half of that sleeve. I just cut it with some scissors, just to give a little bit of extra support to the plant. As you can see, it's actually pretty sturdy, given that it hasn't lived in, well, I don't know, maybe it was outside, but it probably was in a greenhouse. So it hasn't lived with wind like this, but I figure, this will just give it a little bit of support as it gets used to the wind. Gosh, it smells so good, even just doing this to it. It smells really good. Oh, it's so beautiful. So I'm going to cut it off, probably right here, right above that little leaf node. And I'll harvest the top, use it for a recipe this week, and then plant this out. I do have that parsley. I did a similar thing over here with the parsley. This is a flat leaf parsley, which looks like it could use a little water and a little more fertilizer. It kind of, this one I did not put in enough shade, and so it kind of shocked. A bunch of the leaves died, but now it's pushing new growth, and I'll have a nice parsley plant all just from one of those, you know, grocery store parsleys. So that's pretty cool. I also wanted to give you a little clematis update because one, the Stillwater clematis has opened fully. It's so gorgeous. I actually don't think the flower is smaller than it was last year. I think it's probably just about the size that it should be. And look, we've got two more. They're such a pretty flower, but isn't that just gorgeous? I mean, that is just so stunning. I absolutely love it. I'm excited to watch how long it's gonna bloom for me in this garden. And then the only other thing that I'm really looking at today and we're kind of, you know, worrying about here are my tomatoes. Look at these. I'm dealing with something, and I don't know if it's from the potting soil, if it's like that leaf curl thing that happens when you have sometimes potting soil. I know in the last couple of years, gardeners talking about potting soil having like pesticides in it that cause the leaves to curl. So I don't know if it's a water issue, if it's that pesticide issue. I know I was kind of spraying. I've been trying to water this area, which has all the little baby seedlings, which are coming up, you know, the bachelor buttons and the zinnias. And so I've been trying to keep this area really, really wet. And in doing that, I realized I was like spraying my tomato leaves, which is not great. You know, you don't want to do that. Part of this like fungally looking stuff could totally be just getting too much water on the leaves. So I am going to, I have been more careful now about making sure that when I'm watering it, I'm just watering at the base here and not getting the watering leaves. Hopefully that helps, but I don't know. It just looks kind of funny. I did see though that there's a big fasciated blossom on this plant, so I really hope it can produce tomatoes because I would love to get one of those big crazy looking heirloom tomatoes. I've really never been able to grow the big heirlooms. A lot of the determinate style tomatoes that grow best in containers and that you usually find marketed toward containers, they're usually saladette size or cherry tomatoes. A lot of the like the tiny Tims and the micro Toms and all those things, they're all little cherry tomatoes, or like a lot of even any of the other ones that you'll see that are labeled determinate. They usually won't be like those big heirloom tomatoes. And then I've grown just in general the ones that did really well in my past garden, which was kind of like a part shady environment. I guess maybe needed like a really vigorous tomato, were more saladette size. I loved the Juliet tomato. That was saladette size. I did Barry's Crazy Cherry last year. Oh, I did the spoon tomatoes. Those were fun. I'm sad I don't have those in the garden this year. I'm starting to miss all the seedlings that I killed earlier this season. I'm starting to wish I had those plants, but that aside, I just sort of, with the way my garden was and what I chose to plant in the sort of prime tomato areas that I had in my past garden, I never really had any of those big heirlooms. But a few years back, I did grow this, I think it was a Mana, I think it's called. It's a yellow tomato. And it was one of those big slicers. And oh my gosh, this tomato, when I tell you, like it tasted like, I'm gonna put you guys in the garden bed. Maybe it'll be less windy in there. It tasted the way that people say, you know, a homegrown tomato is just different. It tasted like that. It tasted different. It was incredible. It was so good. And I just think, you know, those big heirloom tomatoes, they're so pretty. They're really cool. And so I'm hoping that fasciated blossom will turn into one. That would be really neat to see. This is the Black from Tula tomato. So it would be a big, you know, like dark colored heirloom. It would be nice. We'll see what happens. The pepper plant's looking a little curly too. I don't know what's going on. Of course, the first time you grow in any garden, things are a little weird the first year, and it just takes some time. So I'm trying not to worry about it too much. And then we've got the squash. Look how nice the patty pan squash is looking. Get under there. It looks good. My other plan this week is going to be to get out all my seeds and start making plans for these beds. I have been watering them, so even though the soil is empty, as you can see, I have been watering them. If you have space like this that is just waiting to be planted, do not forget to water it. I'm sure you know, but if you don't water it, it'll get hydrophobic. So I have been out here dutifully trying to water my seeds and water these raised beds. But I'm gonna probably, I mean, it's early in the week still, so we'll probably get out the seeds at some point and start doing a little planting. It's evening in the garden, and I just came out to check on things. Look, so this Princess Margarita rose is starting to fade into this sort of like true pink tints in the old bloom. And then this is a new bloom that opened, and it's funny, it's kind of closed up for the night. I'll go ahead and put in a picture of what it looked like earlier today, because it had opened up really big, but now it's kind of closed back up. I always love when flowers do that. I think it's so cute when they just kind of like close up for the night. But it's been really fun to watch the transformation in this color. It's just continued to change. You can see the young flower is like this really nice brighter-y kind of orangey apricot, and then it fades to this. Both gorgeous, I think, in their own way. There's really not much else new out here, but I'm just checking on everything, making sure that the water is doing okay. I'm a little worried about, so this is the container where I put the cosmos and the basil. I can see a couple basil seed. Oh, maybe there's another one germinating. I'm not so worried about the cosmos because I planted them a little deeper, but I surfaced so basil, and everything just has been drying out so fast on the surface of these containers that I'm just slightly concerned, but I think maybe they'll be okay. I do need to water. See, this is why I come out and check things. So this is the basil I've been hardening off. Oh yeah, and it's dry. I better water that. Before it dies. That would not be good. I think the rest of the garden is looking pretty good, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull out a few of my seeds now. I think I have a plan for the 3 new raised beds, and so I'm gonna grab some seeds. One of them, I think I'm gonna look at some of my squash seeds. Right, so I'm out in the garage just looking through seeds, and of course I started pulling, a few seed packets, and this is what it's turned into, but I think I'm narrowing down. So one of the beds I want to do some like squashes or gourds or something like that. So I pulled a few things that I've been wanting to grow. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to end up on. One of them is these red warty thing pumpkins, mostly just because I think they'd be really fun for like just decoration around Halloween time. But actually there's supposed to be a really delicious eating pumpkin too, as you can see, savory soups and veggie roasts and pies, so that might be kind of cool. Let's see how big. Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to give them a lot of space. I don't know, 110 days to maturity. I gotta do the math on that too, as far as the timing with the fall. I also have these weeby little pumpkins, which these are supposed to be more of, I don't think there's really a container style pumpkin per se, but I did get these seeds because they're supposed to grow in more of a bush like habit, which might lend itself to the size of the raised beds that I have since they're so small. So I don't know, I'm kind of thinking about those. And then I've been wanting to grow birdhouse gourds for a while. I don't know if I'm gonna do that either, because again, they need a lot of space. Let's see. Yeah, 10 to 16 foot vines. That may just be too crazy big for the size garden that I have. And you just all of that. Well, let me see with the woody thing. How big are those vines? They're 10 to 15 foot vines too. So all the pumpkins might be out except for the weeby little. Let's see what I end up on. But I thought it'd be fun too. Maybe I'll do a little, this is like a mini winter squash. I believe I got this because it had a smaller vine too, so that might be an option. I did also pull some of my ground cherries. My daughter loves ground cherries. I think it's only 65 days to maturity plant, so I think I actually could still plant some for a late summer harvest, and my daughter could get some of these, and she really enjoys them. So I think I'm going to stick some of these, maybe even in the squash container, like in the middle, and they can grow up and fill the middle. So I have these Aunt Molly's ground cherries, so I may do those. And then for some of the other raised beds, I just started pulling some things I'm thinking of. Oh, here's another this jumbo cantaloupe. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that. I started pulling some sunflowers too because I thought it might be fun to stick a few sunflowers in a couple places. Just, I don't know, kind of like for later season sunflowers. I always like the multi-headed, the branching sunflowers because you just get like more flowers. So I'm thinking about that, and I got some beans because I think I want to do like a raised, like just like garden themed raised bed with kind of like classic garden plants. And then I'm also thinking of pollinator raised bed, so maybe even some like dwarf sunflowers would be cute in there. So I've got a lot of thinking to do, but I'm gonna keep these seeds out for a little while. Hey there, well, I've just been out playing around with the layout of some of the containers out here, and I'm not, I'm not actually sold on it. I don't love where I have them set out right now, but I think that's also just part of the gardening process, is sometimes it has to get worse before it gets better. I'm gonna be getting a bunch of new plants probably to fill up some of these containers, and so, I don't know, I may put them back to where I had them, or I may switch them around again. I think I'm gonna keep kind of trying to adjust things. It's part of what I like doing, sort of changing up the look of the garden. And then I'm just trying to decide how many of them I want to have in front of the raised beds, like how far I want to bring the garden out. So I'm just kind of playing around with that and seeing what I like and what I think works best. So we'll kind of see how that goes and how that evolves. But yeah, I don't like this layout, so I'm going to keep working on it. But there's lots of good room for some new things, and I did finally clear out the lettuce and some of those things. So anyways, that is all for this week, and I'll see you again soon. Bye. Thanks. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for watching. We just hit 5,000 on here, which is so incredible. I wasn't sure if we'd ever reach that kind of a number. So I'm so grateful for you for being a part of the community and hanging out in the garden with me. Well, anyways, until next time.